1987, what a ridiculous year for metal. Seriously, one of the most stacked years the entire genre has ever experienced. We're talking about Keeper of the Seven Keys, Abigail, Scream Bloody Gore, and even mainstream giants like Appetite for Destruction. But here's the thing, everybody already talks about those masterpieces, and today we're going way beyond the obvious choices. Because 1987 was also full of brutal records that expanded the boundaries of heavy metal in every possible direction. Some of these albums shaped entire subgenres, some defined legendary careers, and others completely changed their bands forever. And the crazy part is, some of these records are still massively underrated even today. So if you think you already know everything about 1987, trust me, you're about to discover some hidden gems. This is Keep Metal, and welcome to another journey through the greatest metal albums released in 1987. Let's start with D.R.I. and their incredibly important album, Crossover. Dirty Rotten Imbeciles originally came from hardcore punk and thrashcore.
Here they fully embraced metal and started a transition that would define their entire future.
In fact, this record became so influential that its title eventually named an entire subgenre. The term crossover thrash literally came from this album. It may not be their absolute best record, but it is unquestionably their most important one. This album built a bridge between hardcore punk and metal that thousands of bands would later cross. And we're just getting started, because things are about to get much darker. Now let's enter darker territory with Bathory and their legendary third album, Under the Sign of the Black Mark. This record completed Bathory's first trilogy, a period that became one of the foundations of extreme metal itself. Unlike the previous albums, this one improved the songwriting without losing that savage, primitive, and dangerous atmosphere. You can already hear Quorthon becoming more ambitious, adding bigger arrangements and creating a much grander sound. This was also the moment when Norse mythology started becoming more important inside Bathory's universe. But the lyrics still explored horror, satanic imagery, occultism, and all kinds of dark, esoteric themes. Many people call this one of the most important bridges between first-wave black metal and what the genre would later become. And speaking about evolution, our next album transformed a band that was about to dominate German thrash metal forever. Now we arrive at one of the most important turning points in German thrash metal history, Persecution Mania by Sodom. This album completely changed the future of the band and helped define their identity forever. Before this album, Sodom still carried a very dark and primitive sound that often bordered on early black metal. Their music was raw, evil, chaotic, and heavily influenced by underground extremity. With Persecution Mania, they finally embraced the thrash metal movement that was exploding all over Germany, but without losing the aggression and darkness that made them unique. The compositions suddenly became more technical, more sophisticated, and far more memorable. The riffs became sharper, the structures more complex, and the entire band sounded much tighter. But perhaps the biggest transformation happened in their lyrics. They slowly abandoned satanic themes and started talking about war, nuclear destruction, and social conflicts. And honestly, this decision would become one of the most recognizable trademarks of Sodom for decades to come. This album planted the seeds for the formula they would perfect in future classics. You can already hear the foundation of the Sodom that metal fans adore today. So even if this wasn't their final form yet, Persecution Mania was absolutely essential. It was the moment Sodom stopped being an underground curiosity and became a thrash metal institution. Warlock had already released several great albums representing German heavy metal, but this fourth record became a turning point for the entire band. The group, led by Doro, Pesch, slowly moved toward a cleaner and more American-oriented sound while still keeping their original heavy metal identity alive. The band even relocated to the United States, and two of their original guitarists were replaced by American musicians. But despite becoming slightly more commercial, the album never abandoned its classic heavy metal power. Above everything else, Pesch absolutely dominates this album with one of the strongest female voices of the entire 80s. She wasn't simply a female singer in metal, she was one of the greatest vocalists of the entire era. Triumph and Agony perfectly captures the spirit, energy, and atmosphere of heavy metal during its golden years. And now we move to one of the most experimental and influential albums ever created. Into the Pandemonium by Celtic Frost may be one of the most advanced metal albums ever released. Celtic Frost had already created essential records for extreme metal years before death metal and black metal even existed. But this time, they decided to incorporate their musical tastes outside of metal itself. The result was an unbelievable combination of symphonic, gothic, industrial, electronic, and extreme metal elements. The songs become completely unpredictable because female vocals or programmed drums can suddenly appear out of nowhere. At first, many people criticized the album because nobody understood what Celtic Frost was trying to do. But over time, it became a cult masterpiece, and many fans now consider it the very first avant-garde metal album. This masterpiece once again proved how historically important this Swiss band truly was. Join the Army became the album that perfectly balanced both musical identities of Suicidal Tendencies. It arrived 4 years after their debut, and many people describe it as a transitional album. The arrival of drummer Herrera and guitarist Rocky completely changed the band's future. The hardcore identity remained intact through the speed and Muir's aggressive vocals. But Rocky injected incredible thrash metal riffs and solos throughout the entire record. That is why many people consider this the definitive crossover thrash metal album.
This was the album that fully pushed Suicidal Tendencies toward their future thrash metal identity.
And now we enter one of the most underrated technical thrash masterpieces ever. World Circus by Toxik is one of the greatest hidden gems in thrash metal history.
If you ever search for the definition of technical thrash metal, this album should appear immediately. This record is unbelievably complex, incredibly fast, and almost chaotic in the best possible way. Toxik pushed thrash metal beyond its normal limits and explored completely new territory. The guitars create impossible riffs at incredible speeds, while the drums constantly change patterns. Every single member performs at an extraordinary level without sacrificing aggression. The singer's falsetto and Ed Repka's artwork complete one of thrash metal's essential masterpieces. And now we move toward one of the most debated albums in Manowar's career.
Some Manowar fans unfairly criticize Fighting the World because they believe the band became more commercial. But honestly, that is exactly what makes this album so interesting. The band successfully mixed accessibility with their epic warrior identity. They invited more people into the Brotherhood without abandoning their roots. Yes, there are traces of 80s hard rock influences throughout the album. But there are also powerful songs that can easily be classified as early power metal. The speed, epic atmosphere, and heroic spirit of Manowar are still completely present. And that formula would become even bigger in their future albums. Finished with the Dogs may represent the absolute peak of Holy Moses. The band was led by the legendary Sabrina, one of Germany's most iconic metal figures.
The lyrics are full of political and social criticism. Musically, the band combines aggressive thrash with strong punk influences. The album never loses intensity from beginning to end. It also sounds completely different from the more famous German thrash bands. Even though Holy Moses released many excellent albums afterward, they never surpassed this masterpiece. This remains one of the greatest hidden treasures of 80s thrash metal. Before the final recommendation, let's quickly mention 5 more incredible albums from 1987. Future World by Pretty Maids delivered melodic power and unforgettable choruses. D.R.I by Corner expanded technical thrash into completely new dimensions. Wild Frontier by Gary Moore mixed hard rock with Celtic influences beautifully. Breaking the Silence by Heathen became another essential Bay Area thrash classic.
Refuge Denied by Sanctuary showcased extraordinary vocals from Warlock. All of these albums deserve far more recognition than they usually receive. 1987 truly was one of the greatest years in metal history, but we still have one final masterpiece left. And it helped create an entirely new subgenre. Under Jolly Roger by Running Wild completely changed the band's future. This album helped shape the melodic power metal explosion that would dominate Europe. Running Wild abandoned their raw speed metal approach. They replaced satanic themes with stories about pirates and sailors. The choruses were inspired by traditional 17th century sea shanties, yet they never sacrificed their heavy metal power. This transformation also created what we now call pirate metal. Years later, bands like Ailstorm would continue that legacy. Even if this album isn't always mentioned, its influence is absolutely enormous. Under Jolly Roger is one of the most important metal albums of the 80s. And that's it, metalheads. These were 15 incredible metal albums released in 1987. If you enjoyed this video, share it with your fellow metal friends. Subscribe if you haven't done it already, and activate the notification. Follow Keep Metal on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. We'll return very soon with another journey through metal history.